Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri, and is the world's first single barrel only liquor store. This store is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot. Get signed up for their email distribution list to find out when the store will be opening, what their hours will be, and most importantly, what they will have in inventory at abvbarrelshop.com. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebartogo.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show. This was a special one that we've got here for you today as we are continuing to do our vacation. We're playing some old Bourbon Talk Show episodes. These have not been aired yet on the Bourbon Daily, which is cool. But this one is a mom's episode. It's a very special one because we had both Sandy Noe, mother of Freddie Noe, wife of Fred Noe of Jim Beam, and then Marcia Likarish, the mother of Robert and Jonathan Likarish over at Ironroot Republic. And it's just, I love the family aspects of this business, and I liked talking to the moms. It's really fun, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This is probably one of my favorite episodes that you guys did. It was just really cool to see the moms and like how proud they are and how much they're involved and everything. It's cool.
Yeah.
It is. Like Sandy Noe is always so lovely. Like I just love talking to her. It's like talking to like your own mom almost. Like she's just a mom. And then Marcia Likarish was so sweet to join us because she was actually in London at the Whiskey Icon Awards.
Yeah.
Awards, and she still pops on to talk to us. So,
and I want to say it was, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning, something crazy. We may say it on the show. I don't remember, but yeah, it was crazy. In the middle of the night in London, to talk to us, and just insane. But it just shows you what a great person she is. And again, very business focused. I know that she really oversees and make sure that her boys are doing what they say they're going to do and commit to that. It's just a fun dynamic. And what I like even better is the father, who was this executive actually in St. Louis, a big time executive for a large company. We're talking a Fortune 500 type of company. And he was an executive for that, like the CFO or something like that. And because he wasn't at the distillery, I see on their posts on social media, they refer to him as intern. Because he wasn't down there working the distillery until he retired. That's just been the last, 6 months or something. So I love that part of it. It's hilarious.
He's probably having a blast though, going from like CEO to intern. You're going to love it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have that responsibility anymore.
Yeah.
He had a long career where he probably had a lot of pressure and stuff like that. Now, just being an intern guy at Ironroot, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, no. He's probably having fun too. Yeah. So enjoy this interview, Sandy Noe and Marcia Likarish.
Let's drink!
So it is time now for our first guest on our special Mother's edition of the Bourbon Talk Show. She's the mother of Freddie Noe, wife of Fred Noe, as we talked about. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Sandy Noe. Hey, Sandy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right. We always like to kick it off with a fun question that kind of gets us to know our guest a little bit on a personal basis. And this one, because I personally like traveling, I assume that everyone else does as well. I don't know whether you do or not, but if you do, where do you like to go? What would be like an ideal vacation for you?
Well, and I've not been to a lot of places, but Hawaii one time, that was awesome.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Right, Hawaii, and going to Florida. I like the beach a little bit, but I'd like to go out west some and go like Montana and stuff like that. I have not done that yet, but that would be fun.
There's so much to see out there when you get to the Badlands and all that kind of stuff, and Mount
Right.
Rushmore and all the parks that are out there. It's really cool. It's great family fun for sure.
Right. I
Sure.
lived that through a neighbor and friend of ours. He goes out traveling. He'll send back pictures of everywhere he's been, and it's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
definitely would like to go out west.
Yeah, if you get to Yellowstone too, that's the most amazing place ever. That it looks like Disney created that place. There's so many natural things and phenomenons that go in there. It's like, man, it's unbelievable the things that you could see in it. It's
Right.
all just natural. That's the cool thing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. Nature.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's kick the interview off with get to know you a little bit. Tell us how you met Fred. So, how did it happen, and at what point did you know he was the one?
I know. I don't know. Do you know for sure that they're the one? But we met just, I don't know if all towns have that, but you go riding through the loop from one end of town.
Oh,
like,
we got
one
that here.
restaurant
Oh, I think every place does.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. McDonald's on one end it was a Druthers at the time, I think, on the other end. And in between, of course, there's some bars here and there and parking lots that people would pull off in and just chat. And that's kind of how I met him. He's 6 years older than me, so it was a little bit different. But yeah, they're just riding through town and hanging out. He wasn't riding through town all that much, but that's where I did meet him.
Yeah. What did your parents think of him the first time they met him? Were they like, "Oh, he's great," or was it like, you know how does when you bring the boy home? Yeah.
Everybody has already heard of who he was and stuff. And then it wasn't, as long as, he acted right, he'd come pick me up and do the right thing. So that's was one of the plus sides.
Yeah.
So, right. When we'd go out, he would come to the door and stuff. So yeah, you have to act right or you.
Yes. My grandma Sandy used to tell the best story. So my grandma said that the first time my dad showed up, he did the right thing. He came and knocked on the door, met my grandma and my grandfather, and picked up my mom, and they went out on a date. Second time, I guess he thought that protocol's done. He's met everyone. He just honked the horn, and who he met was my grandma running out there with a fly swatter to start cracking him with that thing. And that's how my grandma was. She was good with the fly swatter. So that skill never left her. She got me with that even 20, 30 years later. So yeah, she was
fly swatter. It's pretty good. Or the switch off the tree was usually not very good either.
Yeah. So my dad never did that again. For the rest of the time, my dad continued to come to the door. Then that was definitely one of our favorite stories.
Well, that's good. I don't think Fred continued to do that. If we were running behind, I would run out the door and go meet him. But after you've dated a while, then it's okay.
Then it's okay. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what it was like meeting Booker Noe for the first time, because he's this larger than life character, but of course his presence, he was a larger than life person even. So what did you think of the first time you met him?
The first time in person, I was scared to death. It's like, oh no, I'm meeting this huge man, and a voice, his voice just carried, and it was like, ooh, and I just would answer anything he asked me. Well, I was very shy when I was younger, so it was a little tough, but I just would answer his questions. And then after that, Fred would say, well, you could get away with murder with him. He'll let you do anything. So anytime if something needed to be done around here, they'd say, Sandy, you go ask him. He'll let you do it. I'm like, oh gosh, you all, that's not fair, but okay.
So when it comes,
Another thing too is funny. Went to a concert, a Hank Williams Jr. concert, as a matter of fact, at the Louisville Palace. Well, I've had all these pictures, and then Annis and Booker and all of them were sitting up front, so they are all, the backs of their head are in these pictures before I met Fred. So after I said, look, this, your mom and dad are in all these pictures. He was there too, but I don't guess he was sitting right there at the time I was taking pictures. But it's kind of crazy because we were like in the next tier back and they were up in the front. And so I got them all in my pictures. Yeah. And that was before I even knew who he was.
Sandy, did you put that together, or were you just happen to be thumbing back through those pictures and like, wait a minute, this is them?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. What are the chances? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that was kind of wild.
Yeah. When it comes to what you enjoy drinking, do you enjoy drinking your whiskey neat? Do you enjoy cocktails, or do you are like these new Jim Beam seltzers? Is that something that you're interested in?
I do like those seltzers. They
I
are
do
pretty
too.
good, and I like a mixed drink. And I can do neat, but I'm not a big fan of doing it neat. But and it depends on where you are, what you're doing, and I try because we got our famous whiskey sours that we make that are
Right.
pretty good. I'd made a couple of batches of them on Saturday night, and so and I like making like a Kentucky Mule with some of our rye. So it just depends on what mood I'm in, and can't go wrong with Jim Beam Black Label. I drink that a lot for just even a mixed drink, or I put a little Diet Coke. Like Booker said, you drink it any damn way you want to drink it.
Right.
And I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you live in a place that's known as the bourbon capital of the world. And you have two of the most recognized people from the world of bourbon that you're with, and your husband, Fred, and your son, Freddie. And what's it like for you guys to go out to dinner even, or to the grocery store, or to, shopping for clothes and stuff like that? Are they stopping you guys, or is it more like, they're the local celebrities, let's kind of leave them alone?
Both. Sometimes, sometimes people will come up and just, not even people, but being in a small town like this, usually we see a lot of people out that we do know and are friends with that we'll talk to. But yeah, there's sometimes people will come up and just say how much they love the bourbon and stuff. Because, there's the new restaurant down to the distillery, the kitchen table, which is very good restaurant. So yeah, we eat down there quite often, and people in there come over and say stuff sometimes too. So yeah, it's both, and it's they're recognized. Even me, knowing that I'm married, to Fred, and Freddie's my son, I kind of sometimes might get a little out of hand until somebody will come up and I don't know them and they know who I am, and I'm like, oh, I better watch what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
So
that stuff happens. Yeah.
Got good advantages and sometimes maybe a little disadvantage, but mostly it's all good because I'm a people person. I like talking to people myself, so it's not a hard thing. Yeah,
I think that for the most part, bourbon fans are pretty great. So I assume that anybody that's approaching you guys, it's it's love. I mean, they like what you're doing, they like your products, and obviously they love the personalities of Fred and Freddie. So it's probably flattering in some ways. Though if you're busy or something like that, I can see where that can get a little bit bothersome.
Most definitely. Usually not too busy to say stop and talk for a little bit. Yeah, and it is kind of different because they consider us celebrities, where I do not consider us celebrities. We're just everyday people that do the same thing like everybody else. You just are maybe more known is all, but
right.
Yeah, I don't consider us celebrities at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we need to get some money in the budget, and we're going to have an exciting thing when it's time for a McNew question, but we don't have anything yet. We're going to get sound effects and lights show and all that. But for right now, we don't have any of that. So, but we do have McNew gets to ask a question every time we do one of these, right in the middle of the interview. So McNew, what do you got?
Yeah, Sandy. So a lot of interviews with you, they really focus on the distillery, Freddie. But what about you? What are some of your hobbies, or what do you like doing in your free time?
Well, a lot right now. I love playing with that grandson. He's just
he's so cute.
He's the sweetest thing. He came over today, as a matter of fact, and came in there and wanted me to play some. And I said, okay. I said, I don't know if you want to get too close to me because I'm not sure if it's allergies or cold I have. So, but yeah, we played for a little while, and he is just he's a mess. we have a big time for sure. And I don't do too many hobbies. I don't really have hobby. I like doing whatever. I like, we're talking about sitting out by the pool and doing one of these. Well, when it's getting close to pool time, we've been already gearing up and talking to our pool people about getting it clean, and we're doing a little renovation back there. And so that's my hobby. I like taking care of the pool, making sure it's clean, so when we want to use it, and just doing stuff. And with COVID around, heck, we haven't gotten to do near the things that we would like to do, but yeah, I like doing whatever is with the flow. I have been like arrowhead hunting a few times, and I do like doing that. It's pretty cool finding arrowheads now.
Oh yeah.
I do like that kind of deal.
Yeah, that is fun. So Sandy, during your time from dating Fred on forward, you've kind of seen this transformation really in the industry, but of course you've seen it even a step further than most of us because you've seen it happen to individuals. So Booker Noe, very much, when you met him the first time, he's, distillery worker and he's a, distiller and all that, but then they ascend to this level of being a rock star. And really, he's part of the transformation of that. When they sent him out on the road, that kind of turned things around where customers love hearing from a person like him and all the great stories and all that. And it changed really what a master distiller is. And so you've seen that happen to him. And then you saw it happen to your husband, Fred, again, one of the most famous people in the history of bourbon. And now you've got your son, and he's at the start of that, but he's definitely headed down that path. He's doing some amazing things already. So what's it like watching these transformations as you've got to see, in the process, seeing a third one happen here?
It's kind of just mouth dropping, watching how long people will stand in line to get their autograph and, sign a bottle and stuff. It's rather amazing. And Booker was always, if you came to see him, he didn't care how much longer it took. If he didn't get to eat or whatever, he was going to stay and talk to every last person that waited in line to talk to him.
Wow.
So that's kind of the way Fred and Freddie both are. And yeah, they like, they know that that's what helps them sell this good juice. So yes, that's definitely a plus for them. They like to do it, and they like talking about themselves.
Yeah. but you think about it, it's so smart because one conversation like that, whether it's back to the days of Booker or Fred or now Freddie, probably one conversation leads to a customer for life. I mean, you get to meet someone that makes the whiskey that you drink, and they're telling you stories and taking time out of their schedule to talk to you. That means a lot to us as individuals, just people who are fans of whiskey. And yeah, you're going to be a fan for life of that brand. So that's cool.
For sure. Yeah, Freddie quizzes me here and there and makes sure if I'm talking about something that I don't say anything wrong. I said, you don't got to worry about that, because if I don't know what the answer is, I will not say anything. You're not going to be able to get me on that one.
So how excited is Freddie? It's almost like a playground. I look at it like, the new Fred Noe craft distillery. So he gets kind of the best of all worlds because he has, the biggest bourbon distillery in the world with Jim Beam. But then he also gets to have some fun and do some different experiments, things on a small scale with this new craft distillery. So what's he saying about this thing, getting rolling?
Oh, it's awesome. He loves it. He is so excited, just loves showing people the whole place, and it is a new and beautiful place to go in and visit. It's awesome. So yeah, he's very passionate about what he does and the whole 9 yards of it. He likes doing it and loves telling people about it. Right. But yes, it's pretty cool. I dig it myself, and I'm very proud of him being that way. It's pretty good.
I guess it's got to be so special, which kind of leads into my next question with how Freddie is, because I don't think that it would ever be expected of him to be so driven, to do the things that he does, to continue to experiment. And I know, because I work with so many craft distilleries and what we do at the ABV network, how many of them say Freddie Noe contacted me and said, how are you doing this and all that. So he has these conversations with craft distillers across the country. And I'm telling you, this would never happen in any other industry. I was a food broker, so I worked in all kinds of industries. And the person who's getting ready to take over Hershey or the Mars candy bar company would never call like a small candy bar producer and say, how do you make this? Or what do you do with that? Would just never happen. They would be like, oh, we're a big deal. We don't talk to the small brands. But, Freddie does that stuff all the time. And, why is he so driven like that? Why is he a person who's like, everyone has a good story to tell and I want to hear it?
Well, I'm thinking growing up with his granddaddy. I mean, he watched him be passionate about it and wanted everything to be right. And, he wanted the consumers to have that experience too and have good taste and stuff. So yeah, he's passionate about it for sure. And, I just think he's so creative. He's just got a lot of things he wants to try and do. And He's the same way with food. He's a good cook. He likes cooking for us, and he tries out recipes on us all the time. So he's always trying out bourbon recipes for sure.
Yeah.
And, got the eye for it and the palate for it. So he does a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that you've been through, and this is you personally, is raising Freddie and having a child whose lineage would dictate from the time he's born. He's the 8th generation distiller. But again, you want a child to grow up and do whatever they want to do. You hope that they always are going to go in what has been the family business, but you have to allow them to grow and want that themselves. And now you get to see it from a little bit different perspective with Freddie having 2 children of his own. And what is it like, with Freddie's kids and, hoping, I'm sure, that they're going to go in the business, but allowing them to do what they want in life.
Right. Well, right now that's what they're doing. The granddaughter's into soccer quite a bit, but she understands the business too. And I think she would like to be in it. Right now she's saying she would. And then as far as little man, he's only going to be 4 this year. So, you don't push anybody into that exactly, because they got to make their own decision. And it's like Freddie, we were hoping that he would, but not going to make him or try to make him. And I think once they see like the family history and understand the passion that is in it and further in it, they'll probably want to come on and do that. I would like to think so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, our last question's always a fun one. And we were talking before we got started, that one of the best things you can do from the world of bourbon is go to either a Fred or a Freddie event where they're talking. They're the featured speaker. But many times when I've seen Fred talks, he talks about how wild he was, as a young man. And of course, you were around then. And what was he that wild and crazy back in the day, or is that just good bourbon stories?
No, he was most definitely wild. I think you have to wait until that book comes out when he's not around anymore. I don't know that the bourbon industry or his job would appreciate him saying he was definitely wild, but he, like I said, he's 6 years older than me, so he had settled down somewhat, but then I got to hear some of his stories. And I mean, we did have a lot of fun at a younger age, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
And, some things, I probably don't need to be told again. For sure.
Yeah.
That's how you learn and not to do it again. But it was fun. That's the main thing. And then when you get older, you look back and he tells some good stories for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he definitely does. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. A little round of applause for Sandy Noe for joining us today. Please, please stick around to the end and we'll have you share, whatever you like to share, social media or anything like that. That sound okay?
Sure. I'll hang out. No problem.
All right. That sounds good. What we'll do next, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking to Marcia Likarish. We'll do that in just a few. Let's talk about the people who make these shows happen. First up is the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot in the greater St. Louis area. It is the most unique shopping experience in the world of bourbon, as the ABV Barrel Shop only focuses on single barrels. We aren't open just yet, but our plan is to have the most diverse single barrel offerings from our many friends in the world of bourbon. By signing up for a weekly email, you will know our entire inventory we have on hand. In addition to single barrels, we'll have a tasting bar and a gift shop featuring logo merchandise for both the shop and the ABV network, as well as a full curriculum of bourbon education classes. Additionally, we'll use the gift shop to feature products from our partners in the world of bourbon, companies like Art Eatable Chocolates and Old Man Bay Signs. Head over to ABV Barrel Shop to sign up for our email and text distribution list so you can stay in the know. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
This is also Freddie Mills going underneath the alias of Danny Kennard. You can find me on Facebook at any time. Just look up Danny Kennard, but I am Freddie Mills. Trust me.
All right. Our next guest is the mother of Jonathan and Robert Likarish of Ironroot Republic. She's done a great job as a mother because her boys knows who's in charge when it comes to family dynamics. Hint, it's always mom. Please join me in welcoming Marcia Likarish. Hey, Marcia, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, so, Marcia, we always, again, like to have some fun with the first and final question. So the first question for you is, if you could own a home anywhere in the United States, so we're talking about a second home. So somewhere else, obviously you need to be based out of Texas to, where you've got your business. But if you could have a second home anywhere else, where would that be?
Oh, I am from Montana. My husband and I both grew up there. We still have family there. And I would definitely go back. They live up by Flathead Lake, so it's a wonderful place to be in the summer. And you know how hot it gets in Texas?
Yeah.
So it is I would love to have a place maybe to go escape that heat sometimes in the summer. And it's just, I think once you've grown up in the mountains and you've lived in the country and things, it's always kind of in your soul a bit. So I would love to go back, I think, in that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And you feel like you can drive 100 miles on the hour on the highway because there's just not a lot of people there too. So
are you talking 100 miles an hour?
Yeah.
It was one of those places that didn't have speed limits there for a long time because, you never saw too many people on the road. But yeah, I think there's more people in the city of Dallas than there is in the state of Montana.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The only thing I found you got to be careful for out there, because again, not a lot of cars, not a lot of people, but like those pronghorn antelope, I saw a lot of those around.
The deer, there's plenty. When you're driving down the highway and you see the signs and it's deer crossing, right?
Right. Yeah. Be careful. Yes. Proceed with caution.
Keep the things in your wheels so that it makes the noise, so that you hopefully that it's going to scare them away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me see if I get this right in the beginning. So as all this starts out, so Robert is going to school. You guys are living in St. Louis, and which is my hometown, which is cool. But so he's going to school, and at Christmas dinner, he decides to tell you he's almost done. He's getting ready. He's near the end of getting his law degree. He's going to be a lawyer, at least up until this point. But at Christmas dinner, he decides to tell you he doesn't think he wants to be a lawyer. And he's thinking he wants to start a distillery. And Jonathan, your other son, who's got a great job, says, well, if you're going to do that, I want to do that too. And is this literally how this thing got started?
That is exactly how it got started. I always tell people when we're doing the tours, the seed was planted when we were out in Washington State, and we were doing we went out to dinner, and next door was a distillery, and we'd never been to a distillery. So we thought we would go in. Well, John and I are from Butte, Montana, and Butte, Montana is like the home of the Copper Kings. So I always say that, when you walk in and you see all this copper, there, it's like in your blood. And if you grew up probably in a mining town, it probably is in your blood, right? Right. But you just have this sense of connection to the metals, and John is a metallurgist, and so there was this connection, and it's that good time, and you're tasting spirits, and then you walk out. We walked out, and the guys are talking. They say, someday we want to be, this would be something wonderful. But let's fast forward that 4 years, and I think Rob had decided that practicing law was not really where he wanted to be. he'd worked in law offices, and I think at this point he was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then that little seed started growing. And I think he spent more time that last year of law school, maybe looking into distilling. And he and Jonathan, I think, must have been talking behin my back a little bit. Okay. Because Jonathan jumped into that almost too fast, right? Considering, Jonathan he has an industrial engineering and pre-med out of Texas Tech, went on to St. Louis University and got a master's in biomedical engineering, went on to Wash U and was working on mechanical before he...
One of the toughest schools in the country, by the way, Wash U. It's very... Yeah. So you're talking some major smarts here. I mean, Wash U.
And then he went down to Medtronics in Fort Worth and was worked designing saw blades for neurosurgery. So he really had, nice job and things. But when Robert mentioned this, he said, I'm not going to work in a cubicle and let you have all the fun. And, their dad has always worked in industry. In fact, he's worked in the mining industry for 50 years. And he said, you know what, if you guys want to do it, he said, do it. Follow your dreams. Nobody can, you've already got your education. Nobody can take that away. Yeah. And they jumped into it. And about that time, I was, I'm a speech pathologist, and I was in St. Louis. I wasn't working. And I said, let's do it. But we got into it really quickly because I don't know if Rob told you that the last, he was moving out of his apartment. We packed up his apartment. We went out to dinner and we came back and the whole apartment complex was on fire. And he lost everything he owned. And being a good student, his insurance was out at the end of May, and the 6th of June, when it burned down, he had nothing. And so he came home. We were living in St. Louis, and you sit there looking at each other for a little while. And I said, I guess it's time for us to go on to the Bourbon Trail and follow this dream of yours. And so we headed to Louisville. Wow. And accidentally, by chance, I walked into Vendome and talked to them about stills. And of course, we knew nothing about what they were talking. They could have been speaking Chinese, asking us about everything. But we had signed a little piece of paper thinking it was just that you signed like a welcome list. And 2 years later, when we got ready to do the distillery, we called them up about getting a still, and there were like 2-year waits. And they looked at us and they said, "Oh, we're getting ready to call you. You're next on the list." Wow. Said, fate really played a part. And Louisville kind of was our start. So we get, in Kentucky, why not? That's where that's kind of where when you think of bourbon, you think of Kentucky. Yeah. So your boys obviously very intelligent. When you talk about the schooling that they went to, not only do they have great educations, they're from great schools. So really highly intelligent individuals. But learning the craft of distilling is different. So how do they put all this together? How do they learn how to make whiskey and do all the things that you need to know to become distillers? Well, they started back. They went up and they did some interning. Back at the original distillery in Washington where we were. Okay. And then we came to Texas, and they met the distillers in Texas and went down, Chip Tate down in Balcones. And then, the area we're from in Texas, as I tell people, if you think about the state of Texas as opposed to Kentucky, the history of bourbon making is only 13 years old. And so it isn't like, when Sandy's family, all of them, they've been distilling for years and they have a lot of connections. But in Texas, what people did is Dan Garrison out of Garrison Brothers, he went straight to Kentucky and he found Kentucky Distiller and he used that style. Then you go up the road to Balcones, and Chip Tate, who was starting Balcones at that time, he had gone to Scotland. And so he came back with a lot more of the single malt and his background. But when you get up in North Texas, where we are, we actually have a winemaking. Our terroir is different. We have sandy. We're on the Red River. Our soil is different. And so they started going to brandy classes, and they went out with Hubert Germain Rabon and Nancy Fraley, and listened to distilling there. And we had some consultants come in, and that's how they really got started.
Yeah. Wow. That's, amazing. And, when you start out, your boys obviously said they're going to do this, but you joined them. So it ends up being the three of you. Your husband had to finish out that career in mining. He wasn't quite to retirement age, so he had to stay back in St. Louis. The three of you go down to Texas and start the distillery. Tell us about those early days when it was just literally at the start, when it was just the three of you.
When we started with the three of us, it was actually the boys started by themselves. And then I would come down and visit, and we learned quickly that you cannot run a distillery with two people. Mm-hmm. That there has to be somebody, the rule was you cannot be at the distillery by yourself. So it came that I kind of was the balance person. And the more time I spent with them, the more I enjoyed being with it, and the more we learned together. And John, he was in the mining business, but he traveled a lot. He sold concentrates for the Missouri mines worldwide, so he traveled a lot. So it was natural to be down there. And when he came home, he didn't want to be sitting in St. Louis. He wanted to be down there with the distillery. So whenever he was home and around, he wanted to be back down there. So we started it, and it was a really a fun experience because everybody was learning at the same time, and depending on everybody to fulfill different needs. And Jonathan kind of fell into the part of the distiller, the head distiller. And Robert, from the law degree, he of course he had to do all the regulations and all of those things along with the distilling. And then of course somebody had to pay the bills and do all the bookwork, and nobody wanted to do that. So that kind of fell on me. And then during the day it was, we're not automated. We're small, so it's hauling the hoses, it's doing all of the
hooking up the pumps and all that kind of stuff.
So the pumps and everything. And so we just started everybody doing everything together, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So ultimately it ends up being, you, Robert, and Jonathan. Your husband stays back. He finishes out his career, but ultimately he does finish it out and retire. And then he moves down. But Robert was telling me, and see if you concur with this, but he says it's kind of like because Dad was left behind and you three really got this thing going. Even though he was an executive in his career, he starts out like a low-level intern at the distillery because you three are the ones that really got this thing going down there. Is that what you felt like too?
He's only been here a year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a new guy.
So,
he's a new guy.
Yeah, so we call him Intern John. and he has a lot of fun with it. And he just jumped in and he kind of fills in a lot of our spots that we really needed. He helps Jonathan with the mechanical part when he needs it. But he loves to talk to the people. And so he really enjoys interacting with everybody that comes to the door. And it's just fun to see him. The other thing he's always doing is sweeping. He's always trying to keep us clean and keep us neat and everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a small little distillery. There's a place for everybody, and he just kind of fits right in. And when we got our new bottling machine, he kind of took over. So that's kind of his thing. And so he's like the man in charge of that.
Yeah. Very nice. It is time now for a McNew question. McNew, what do you got?
You might have already answered this by saying that you love Montana, but when you get a break from the distilling world, where do you like to vacation?
I still have this this travel bug I like, and I love to go to Europe. And I have friends, and we love to do like the Christmas markets and the river cruises, and that is really where I enjoy spending some extra time.
Those Christmas markets are lovely. So there's a town close to me that tries to redo one, but to see one, a real one would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have my friends that we used to travel with before the distillery, and those are still people we like to connect with and go.
That's fun.
Very nice. So, Ironroot has won so many awards. As a matter of fact, we topped the show with the latest award that you won. And of course, these things, they don't happen by accident. A lot of hard work goes into them and all that. But to get that recognition, it certainly affirms that you guys have been doing some great things. But what were some of the things before you started winning awards where you felt like, man, we are on the right track here? We're doing some really good stuff.
I think that very early on, when we looked for a distributor, and you have to send out, and back then, it was really hard for craft distillers or small distillers to find a distributor, and if you don't have a distributor, at that point in Texas, you could not sell your own product, you could not taste your own product, which changed about a month after we started distilling. But if you did not have any of these, you had no way to in that 3-tier system to get your product out, because you can't do it yourself. And we had glaziers. That was before it was Southern. It was only glaziers, and you had to send a presentation. So we sent a presentation, and they said that they didn't want us to come in to give our presentation. They would really like to visit the distillery. And so they sent some of the people that were the higher up people in Dallas, and they came to the distillery. And I remember one of the vice presidents came in, and of course, at this point, you've got vodka, gin, and moonshine, right? Yeah. You don't have anything much because we're like 6 months old. And when they walked in, he said, he looked at it and he says, "Oh, I hate vodka." And we said, "Well, we don't make typical vodka. We make whiskey makers vodka. It's non-chill filtered. It's and when he tasted it, he said, I really like your vodka." So wow. When he was tasting some of the raw spirits, and then they went to the barrel room, and they want to taste what's in the barrel. Well, it's only 6 months old, but at this point, when they left, 45 minutes later, we had a contract for them to pick up our products. And I think that was the first time that I really thought, okay, I think this is going to work out. We've got a distributor, and if they're tasting whiskeys, these people have experience. They know what they're doing. They haven't been in this business that long. And they're not, and they were only picking up like 3 or 4 of the new whiskeys like that a year down there. They weren't picking up a lot, so it really was encouraging from our distributor point to really get that positive feedback.
Yeah, I could see where that would be a huge win early on. Again, before you're getting awards and stuff like that, but to have them come in, and again, people that know the business, tasting your stuff, that's pretty cool and liking it. So yeah.
And we had and when we were only 14 months old, we had a company called Berry Brothers in Rudd. Uh-huh. And they're one of the oldest wine and spirits company in the UK. And they sent us a thing. They were looking for a Texas because of a history with Texas, and they were looking for a Texas bourbon, and they asked people to send samples, and we laughed and we said, well, let's just send it anyway. And we got a call back from Doug MacGyver, that was their head blender, and he says, this is the bourbon I've been waiting for. And they actually purchased our bourbon before we ever put it on the out ourselves. And we sent, like 14-month-old bourbon, and they released it in London, and calling it Texas Legation.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. So one of the cool things that works well when you see a family distillery doing good things is like these complementing skills. And as you go through this, it sounds like that's definitely the case with the Likarish family, that all three of you, have these different skill sets that work and meld together. And even the introduction of your husband coming in, it sounds like he's doing a good job kind of filling in the gaps, anything that was missing. So it sounds like you've got a really well-oiled machine based on the different skills of the family members.
Things balance well, and we've learned together. We all do. We depend a lot on blending because we're small, and it's not like we have 500 barrels going together. It's like you put 4 or 5 barrels when you're starting, and boy, one barrel can make a whole world of difference and thing. So we learned to do blending together, and then this is what kind and we still do it together. Jonathan manages a lot of it. We taste our barrels, so we know what they are, and he decides usually which ones he thinks are going to go together, and then everybody makes the final decisions. So we really depend on everybody's ability to taste and be honest about it, because different people taste different things. And sometimes there's a taste, there's a citrus that I pick up more than they do. And when and they pick up sometimes mineralities in it that don't bother me, and that they find that need to be balanced differently. And so it's interesting to have everybody working together like that.
Yeah. So you have this reputation in Texas as being the mom of Texas bourbon. So not only your boys at the distillery, but it seems like you're very motherly to the other distilleries when you're doing events and things like that, and fairs and festivals. So tell us a little bit about being that role with the nickname of the mom of Texas bourbon.
I was named the mother of Texas whiskey. It originally started with Mike Raymond. He had a whiskey bar in Houston called Reserve 101. And he talked about it, and he laughed, and he says, you're like mother them all, all of the guys were younger, and everybody's treated like family. I think, the distillers are pretty much, especially back when we started, everybody knew everybody. And then Daniel Whittington, that runs the whiskey tribe out of Austin. They have Crowded Barrel, and they started, and he picked up on it. And then all of a sudden one day, Jonathan gets a box, and in the box they had gone to a tattoo artist, had a tattoo artist design a temporary tattoo, and made these, and we're giving them out with the mother of Texas whiskey on it. And then when you get people like the Whiskey Tribe, some of those YouTube groups, they pick up on it, and it's just kind of snowballed. And so that's where it started, and it just continues.
So, being a distillery owner, that's not easy. It's hard work. But you have this unique situation where you're working with your family. So you're working with your boys and now your husband. So, does it feel like work every day when you're coming in, or does it just feel like this amazing time when you get to spend so much, time with your family as an adult? You don't necessarily get that amount of time with your kids. There's many times when they have their own careers and stuff like that, and their own families, but you get a lot of time with your boys. So tell us a little bit about that dynamic of being able to work every day with your kids, and does it feel like work?
No, I don't think it feels like work. Not like like my career that I had for 20 years, or John's. We know that if it wasn't for the distillery, everybody would be in different areas in different parts of the country. And the fact that we're all together, I think that Sandy nailed it when she talked about her grandson, because that is the best part of it, is that I see my grandkids every day, because now somebody has to pick them up from school now that, especially since COVID, they don't go to any after school programs that, it's enough to go to classes. So my husband and I, every day, one of us gets to go, we get to pick up the kids, and they have their own space at the distillery, where they have, where they do their homework, where they have video games, where they do science projects, all the different things. They have their own little special area. And it is so much fun to see them every day. And, that they just I don't know, grandkids are the best.
Yeah. Sandy, you're nodding your head there. I assume you agree on that point.
Most definitely. What was Joe saying? It'd be nice if you could have your grandkids first.
I think I agree with that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got to see that with my dad too, because he was always career oriented and all that, and and then, but when he has my daughter, none of that matters. He's all focused on her and having fun and stuff like that. So it's, grandkids are definitely a special situation. And yeah, it sounds neat that you get that opportunity to be with them every day, and it sounds like a cool setup that they have at the distillery, so they have the ability to have their own area, and it sounds great. Again, all family focused. It's good, very good. So we always like to have some fun with the last question. So Marcia, we've got a doozy here for you, because it's a disagreement with McNew and I. We have this ongoing disagreement. What is worse? One of us says that in terms of animals, that snakes are worse. And another one says that, mice or rats, because they're kind of the same thing, just smaller and bigger, are worse. What do you think is worse out of those two types of vermin, if you will? Snakes or mice and rats? What's worse?
I'm going to go with the mice and rats.
Yes!
Because I think that they carry disease,
Yes!
and I see them.
And they want to come in and move in where you live, with bringing in these diseases. A snake doesn't want to come into your house. Now a snake may end up in a house, but it's an accident. They're dumb. But
and the other thing is, the snakes, I think sometimes they get a bad rap, because
I do too.
They do help keep that vermin out of the area too.
They take care of those.
They're not all poisonous.
Yes. Yeah.
They're all creepy though.
All creepy.
Well,
he says they don't come in your house. I swear
they will, but yeah.
Christmas, they were in the garage and they were rattlesnakes in Texas. And then once I had this huge black snake on my staircase in Illinois. And then at the distillery, I'm going down, I came down the hall, and there is like a 6-foot black snake.
They're the best.
No, they're not.
The black snake, they like eat their weight.
Well, they startle you.
Oh yeah, you don't want them in the house or in the distillery.
But we've had to. I mean, there was one in the barrel room, and my sons are like, they're not going anywhere near this snake.
I don't blame them.
To the front door. And so I get on a ladder, I stand up, I get a stick, and I flip it outside, and it goes into one of those boxes that they're supposed to catch, like mice or whatever. Now I'm feeling bad because this is a black snake and it's going to die. I don't know what they put in those little boxes, but it must not be good, right? So then we get out and I get this big broom and push this thing out to the middle, and then open it and flip it. And there's my son standing back there running.
Yeah.
But, if you grow up in Montana, you just kind of got to get used to this.
Yeah.
Probably Texas too. Yeah.
Those black snakes, though, we have them around here, and my neighbor hates them. He's kind of like McNew. At least he always says it's his wife but he goes out and he kills them. And I beg him not to, because they eat so much of that. And those black snakes, their primary dining is mice and rats and all that kind of stuff. And they're great. Now they're mean though. They definitely they'll bite you, but they're not poisonous. They can't hurt you. Other than, of course, the pain of a bite. But yeah, McNew, why do you freak out about the snakes? What's the deal here?
I think it was ingrained in me because my grandpa was from like southern Kentucky where they were poisonous. This man was terrified of snakes, taught us all to be terrified of snakes, even though I grew up in Indiana. They're mostly fine here. It was just very, very instilled in me to fear them. And I can't even look at pictures of them. I hate them. They're creepy, crawly, cold chills. Feel it.
We're going to have some fun next week, Marcia, because one of McNew's heroes is Maggie Kimbrell, the bourbon writer and historian and all that. Maggie. Very, very well known. Maggie's great. And McNew has looked up to her for a long time, has always talked about how great Maggie is, and probably would even like to go to Maggie's house because she's that cool. But then Maggie posted a picture recently. She's got 2 pet snakes. So McNew is a little freaked out about that. So we're going to ask her about that next week when she comes on.
Let's have a love Maggie conversation about the pet snakes.
So McNew, if Maggie said, "Hey, come on up, let's talk whiskey, let's have a few drinks. You can spend the night at my house," and then you look and you're in the spare bedroom, which happens to be where the snake tanks are.
I would very much politely decline and find a hotel by.
He showed you they were secure. They were. This is their locked.
I wouldn't sleep. I might actually have a heart attack. There is no way I could be in that room.
Well, Marcia, I think you got it right because mice and rats, to me, while maybe look cuter, I don't know. I think that they're gross even looking, but they just spread disease and they get into stuff and they burrow into things and they destroy things, chew on wires and all kinds of stuff. They're terrible little things. Want to get in your car, live in your trunk. I had a 1966 Mustang that needed to be worked on, and one day I opened the trunk and there's all these mice there. I'm like, ah, yeah, terrifying. So very cool. Well, Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you coming.
I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Anything you want to share in terms of social media, websites, anything that you'd like to plug that can help out the distillery, we'd be more than happy to let you do so now.
Ours is ironrootrepublic.com, and I wish I were better with all that social media, but they don't trust me with any of that stuff. You know?
Yeah, it's
they're afraid I'm going to mess something up on that. But but if you go to the website, it's all there.
It's all there. You can check out the direct links, but I'm sure you search Ironroot and it'll come up for sure. Sandy, how about you? Anything you want to share? Social media? Are you active out there? I know you're on Facebook, but I don't know. Maybe you don't want to.
Right. I post sometimes, but mostly, I just look, and I'm like her. Everybody can just look it up online and see what's going on.
Check out jimbeam.com, right? Yeah, it's all there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Kitchen Table. That's a nice restaurant.
Get there. Yeah, get there. So that sounds definitely worth going to. And of course, see the distillery. There's new things, totally redesigned, stuff like that. A lot of new experiences. So check it out.
For sure. It's awesome.
I'm hoping I get to your distillery when I come to Bourbon Women. I'm coming in August out there, and I'm hoping I make it out to your distillery.
I hope you can too. Hope I'm around to meet you if you come.
Well, there you go. All right, here we are enjoying vacation, and we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Justine, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me at JA_Maze on Instagram. You can find our shop at abvnetwork.com and on Instagram at ABV Network Shop.
All right, McNew.
I am on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more. Maybe you're going on a summer road trip. We've got about 3,000 shows you can listen to, so check us out at abvnetwork.com. Please also check out abvbarrelshop.com. Get on our email distribution list. We'll let you know what's in the store, when we're going to be getting things open. Our target date right now is July 9th. It looks very good for that. Of course, some of the things are out of our hands, licensing and that, but it looks like we're going to be on track for that. And, barring any bump in the road, we should be good to go. And I'm very excited about that. So there you go. abvbarrelshop.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I would like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review. That includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And if you like what we're doing, we ask that you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right, there you go. Well, the three of us will be back tomorrow when we introduce the next show while we're on vacation. Take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least is the ABV Barrel Shop. While we don't get to play in the allocated bourbon game because we aren't selling the other products you have to do to get those, we do have access via our friendships in the bourbon industry to some really cool stuff. Have you ever seen your favorite craft distiller selling some really cool limited offerings only in their gift shop? I'm talking things like the hazmat offering Distillery 291 did for their 10th anniversary, or Neely Family Distillery's upcoming Papaw's birthday barrel. They don't have enough of it to send it out to distributors, so they only sell it via their gift shop. Well, companies like Distillery 291 and Neely Family Distillery have agreed to sell us 2 or 3 cases of these offerings moving forward, meaning our store will have the access to some of the rarest whiskeys in the world. Way more difficult to come by than the allocated bourbon offerings with a national release. Yes, they will be extremely tough to come by, but if you're a customer of our store, you'll have a chance to get them. Get signed up for our email or text list over at abvbarrelshop.com so you don't miss out.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.